Hey guys, Horatio with BMW Vlog, and today I'm in Salzburgring, Austria for a very special day, and it's because of this car. This is the G87 BMW M2. Goes on sale later this year, but we have a chance to actually drive the car in a prototype form today before it even hits the street. So I just came back from my drive and I shared some of those impressions, but before I'm gonna tell you more about that, I wanted to kind of walk you around the car, maybe talk about some of the specs that I've learned today. Some of them were already known by you, so not many surprises there. Let's start with the design maybe at the front. As you've seen all the spy photos, all the renderings that we've done, all the information that we put out, a very aggressive front end, different than the M240i, and that starts with the slats right there. They're all horizontal and they look significantly different than on the M240i. Of course, the front fascia, it's very aggressive. You can see right here, really large air intakes, really nice sculpted, parts right there. You can see also the central air intake being really massive. So overall, it's exactly what you'd expect from a full M product, and especially from the M2. Before we move to the side, you can see also the hood. It's got a nice power dome hood, similar again to the M3 and M4, so no major differences there. And of course, you're getting the 50 years of M logo, and you can only order your M2 from the factory with the logo in 2022. All right, so now let's move to the side and take a look at the design from this side. And that starts with the wheels and tires. So same setup as the M3, M4, 275, 35, 19-inch in the front. And the back one gets 285, 30, and 20-inch sizes. So same setup as the M3 and M4, as I said, and that applies to the M brakes as well. So you're getting the brakes from the M3 and M4, but you will not have the option to get the ceramic brakes. So I was told that that's not going to be an option on the new M2. Of course, the carbon fiber roof will be an option, so clearly you are getting that, as well as the M mirrors. No surprises there. Design-wise, it's still camouflage, so you can see all the fine details, but you can see a single line, the character line running all the way in the back, so it gives the car a really nice 3D shape here, really broad shoulders, and that's always nice to see, especially from behind. On the bottom, you can see this aggressive skirt right there, once again, specific to the M cars, and kind of flows into the rear fender. As you can see right here, it is massive. It is just as wide as the M3 and M4 from the back, even though it runs on the same wheelbase. All right, so if we go to the back, you're going to notice, of course, the M design, and that starts with a nice lip on the trunk right there. And as I mentioned, of course, you can see the width of the car. It is massive. Really nice and broad shoulders. It kind of reminds me of the BMW M, and it is definitely wider than the M240i. Being an M car, you are getting the quad pipes, nothing new there, so clearly an M2. And dimensions-wise also, even if you see with the camouflage, you will notice right away that this is an M2. But let's move to the front one more time, and I'm going to tell you more about the specs. So they're telling me that the horsepower, it's around the same as the M2 CS, but my own sources say about 450 horsepower, same S58 engine from the M3 and M4. No mechanical changes there, just software tune-up basically. Same cooling system as well. And I had an interview with Dirk Hacker, the head of engineering at M, and you can see that video and learn a lot more about those specs. The other thing the car gets are variable dampers, which are not in the current M2. You're also getting the option to turn off rev matching, which is quite important, because in the previous M2, you had to turn off DSC completely off, and that was a bit risky. Transmission options, standard 6-speed, which is fantastic because not many companies still offer that. And of course, you have the option of an 8-speed automatic. Again, same setup as the M3 and M4. It feels like a lot of the parts from their car were just included in the M2 to make it stand out. Now, when we talk about the interior also, you're going to see the B-roll and some footage there. Carbon fiber seats are optional, but you are getting M Sport seats at standard. Of course, M Sport steering wheel. You are getting the large display with iDrive 8, so same display as in the new iX, i4, upcoming 3 Series facelift. No major changes there. Still a 4-seater, so it's not like a CSL version where you only have 2 seats. So with that being said, the car will be manufactured at the San Luis Potosi plant in Mexico later this year. It goes on sale in certain markets starting next year. We don't know the pricing yet. We also don't know if it's going to be just the M2 competition and then they're going to be an M2 CS, but I'm assuming that's the case as well. But for now, this is the G87 BMW M2. Don't forget to tune in to also see my driving impressions and of course the interview that I just mentioned with Dirk Hacker. All right, guys, welcome to the Salzburgring and welcome to the new BMW M2. I'm actually in a 6-speed manual M2 rear-wheel drive configuration and I'm about to go for a drive on this famous racetrack. It's raining today, so a little bit slippery, so maybe we can't push the car to its limit, but it should be a super fun day. 2 warm-up laps, followed by about 6 fast laps and another cool-down lap. We'll have a lot more laps coming later. Quick overview of the car. Really wide track. If I look in the car in front of me, it's got a really wide track from behind, really nice hips. You can hear the sound maybe already. It's the same engine from the M3 and M4. A lot of the parts are from their car. First impressions, very nimble. It feels actually quite light. A lot of power from that engine. Also keep in mind, this is the European version, so it doesn't have the same exhaust system as the US one. Going into a corner here. Nice engine, it pulls. Steering input, it's really good actually. The car being so light compared to the M3 and M4, it's also a little bit more nimble on the track. It kind of dances from one place to another, but once we go fast, we'll have a chance to really test it. So acceleration, 4th gear. Brakes, M Sport brakes, so clearly very good. 3rd gear here, it's a fast corner. The track is a little bit wet, so being a rear-wheel drive, it's always tricky. I have all the traction controls on, but we'll be playing with the M1 and M2 settings as well. Keeping tight here. Going through those S's here, the car sounds great, drives great. Driving a manual on track, it's not always as easy as being in an automatic, so it takes time to adjust. Once again, the steering input, it's really good. It seems to be extremely sharp, no dead weight on the center. And once I push the car a lot harder, then it should stiffen up a lot more as well. I've always been a fan of the smaller M cars, 1M, M2s, of course. I do enjoy the M3 and M4, but when it comes to the M5 and M8, it's a totally different beast. It's different to drive on the track, especially, even though they might be a lot more powerful, but you're always gonna have a lot more fun in a car like the M2. Turning in this corner here, really sharp steering, nice exit. Rear wheel drive stays in check. All right, so now we're gonna go on the M1 button, which I'm assuming it's a Sport or Sport Plus mode. I can feel already the car being stiffer. The suspension, it's a lot stiffer than in the previous mode. The engine sound, you can hear that already, sounds a little bit deeper and nicer, of course. Well composed on the track, and it's fast. I mean, it's so fast. 3rd gear, you know, braking hard here. You can see the car just staying on track. And now we're going to this fast corner. No drifting allowed, so unfortunately I can't give you that today. Once again, I'm impressed by how composed the M2 is. I can already tell that it's faster than current generation, and that's exciting. All right, so we're gonna do a cool down lap. No heavy braking to give the brakes a chance to cool down before we swap cars. Once again, guys, first impression, this is the car to get. So I've always been excited, as I said, about smaller M cars. I've always had a lot more fun driving them. I enjoy them a lot more than a bigger M car, and I have a feeling that this new M2 will deliver. I drove the M240i, so clearly that was already a very capable car. I even said in my video review that it's almost at the level of the M2 competition, the current generation, but this one, clearly a step up from what the M2 offers today. this will be a car that will, set the stage for maybe other M2 models like CS, maybe CSL. Clearly there will be an M2 racing car, and it is a great platform. So those are my first impressions with the M2 G87 with a 6-speed manual. I'm gonna be hopping now into the other car in front of me, which is an automatic, so 8-speed automatic, and I'm gonna give you my impressions when I drive that car. So stay tuned, see you in a sec. All right, so I've switched cars. Now I'm in an M2 with the 8-speed automatic. It seems to be the same 8-speed from the M3 and M4. So the goal is right now to really see what this car feels like compared to the 6-speed manual. Clearly, less things to worry about in the car as far as adjustments and shifting and all of that. As you might see in the car, large curve display, so clearly it's getting the large curve display. We've talked about that in our reviews before. In front of me, I'm seeing a very special M display. So it's got different graphics than on the M3 and M4 from what I can tell. Quite cool. Steering ratio and steering feedback has been improved. One of the engineers told me while I was taking a break switching cars. So I was right on that. Also, the driving modes have a wider gap in between them. I was told that as well. So basically, it's a lot more comfortable in comfort, but a lot sportier once you go to Sport and Sport Plus. And right now, I'm set up in the comfort, and efficient for all the settings, but the engine response.
Push the M1 button on the left side of the steering wheel, and we will go a little bit faster.
All right, so M1 steering, it's in sport, suspension in comfort still. This is the M1 setup. As you can see, a lot smoother to corners, a little bit of drifting after that corner there. It's quite wet today, so it's a tricky track. You have to find the dry spots. It's not always easy. The car just nicely turns in. I can feel the steering being a lot heavier than in the previous mode, as you'd expect. There is a little bit of fake sound inside the car because I was outside and it doesn't sound as good, clearly because of the OPF filter on the European cars. Right, this is super fun. I'm getting used to the car by now, so I can go a little bit faster than before. Off the brake, turning a little bit.
On straight, push the M2 button on the right side of the steering wheel, and we will go a little bit faster.
All right, M2, so everything is set up right now is Sport Plus, Sport, Sport, Sport. So a lot bouncier on the track. It feels more like a racing car right now. Throttle response has also become sharper, same as the steering. As you can see, you only need to adjust the steering a little bit in this mode because it's super responsive. So you have to be careful with the adjustments. Do not try to oversteer too much. 190, almost 200, 210.
Now we will do the cool down lap and try to avoid braking.
All right, so what do I think? M2 with the 8-speed automatic or with a 6-speed manual? Really tough choice. Clearly, or personally, I am faster on the track with the autos just because I don't have to worry about too many things going on in the cabin and of course while filming the video as well. But the 6-speed manual will always be very special. I'm actually surprised or pleasantly surprised that BMW still offers this. This might be the last generation M2 that we will get a 6-speed manual. Most likely we're gonna be heading either towards hybrids or fully electric M cars. So if you're in the market for an iconic car, for a classic BMW, this might be the one to buy. Both have their own charm. Clearly, I know if you want to be fast, if you don't want to worry much about, rolling your own gears, the automatic will be the choice for you. It's super sharp transmission, really sharp, really precise, same as you've seen in the M3 and M4, so no surprise in there. But then of course the 6-speed manual, it's always going to be very special. I do have a 1M with a 6-speed manual and I enjoy it every single time that I drive it. Overall, the car feels better than the current generation, without a doubt. Faster, about 450 horsepower, that's what I was told. So more power than in the current generation, just as fast as the M2 CS. My projections are really fast times from 0 to 100, probably low 4 seconds, if not below the 4 seconds mark. The car on the track feels extremely stable because of the wider track. As I said, if you go into the Sport Plus and the highest settings when it comes to sportiness, then this car will pleasantly surprise you. It just feels like a racetrack car, honestly. There are very few modifications that you need to do in order to go to track events and have a lot of fun. There is no X-Drive in this generation, same as in the previous one. So if any one of you was expecting an M3 and M4 kind of setup, you're not going to be getting that. Clearly a rear-wheel drive, and you can feel that on the track, especially in the highest setting. The car will slide off you if you're not careful. So extremely impressed with the car. We'll have a chance to drive a production series M2 later this year, but for now I hope you enjoyed this quick review and stay tuned. We have a lot more footage coming up. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay. Ready? Hi guys! No, I'm just kidding. Is that loud?
That's alright.
In brakes as well.
Sorry, I have to interrupt
Yeah.
you for a moment. We're just having a small issues with
Okay.
the
Yeah, just let me know, yeah. I can do this all day long.